Suns not in action tonight, nor the Kings, neither are the Dallas Mavericks. So nobody that's impacting directly the bottom of the play-in tournament in the NBA. So not a lot of scoreboard watching to be done tonight. Suns are taking on the Boston Celtics tomorrow. That is what's on tonight here on the Burns Gambo Show. Gambo, this was Buda Baker from January 2nd when it was announced that he and Trey McBride were going to the Pro Bowl. He said it even back then.
Yeah, he's always been that guy to catch the block and to block and do everything that is necessary for a tight end to be great in this league, and I knew he was going to be great his rookie year, and now that he's here, made his first Pro Bowl. He was in the hot tub when I seen him and just had to shake his hand and say congratulations, he's earned it, and I think he's one of the best tight ends in this league, and he's going to continue to get better. And Monty's got to make him the highest paid.
Monty's got to make him the highest paid.
Monty, do your thing.
Do your thing, Monty.
Do your thing, Monty.
Monty went and did the thing today. He did. Trey McBride, the highest paid tight end in the NFL. $76 million over 4 years, $43 million guaranteed, $32.5 million fully guaranteed. He's the highest paid in terms of total dollars. He's the highest paid in average annual value. He hit all the marks. He had one of the best statistical seasons a tight end has ever had for the Cardinals organization. He was the second best tight end in just about every metric in the NFL last year. We knew this was going to get done, Gambo. It was just kind of a question of when it was going to get done, but it was always going to happen.
Yeah, and about a month ago, right around March 3rd, I know that they were having talks. They began talks at that time, and then free agency came, got put on the back burner a little bit. And then once free agency basically ended, and I'm going to say after the Calais Campbell signing, the Cardinals were able to turn their attention to getting this Trey McBride thing done, and they were able to get it done. So I think the talks probably began about a month ago, and they were working on it. But again, once free agency hit, everything got pushed to the side, and now they got it done.
Yeah, Kyler Murray on his X account, man, so happy for my dog, worth every penny. More work to be done, but a great day at McB Trey, which is his Twitter account. So Kyler Murray obviously happy for his guy. Those two clearly have a connection on the field. We saw it many, many times over the last few years where Kyler is also looking for Trey McBride. Trusts him very much so when things kind of get sideways on him. So with that done now, and we'll talk more about the McBride extension in the coming days, and I'm sure we'll hear from Trey, and we look forward to that. With that done, and with the drafts, I believe 3 weeks from today, right, Mitch? Is it 3 weeks from right now, the first round of the NFL draft? Most of the business for the Arizona Cardinals is done. I know there's still smattering of stuff out there, like people talk about wide receiver, but with the Trey McBride extension and the Calais Campbell deal yesterday, Gambo, it would seem that just about everything is done for the Cards.
Yeah, so the Calais Campbell deal came into play. I told you a little bit earlier, they really liked the way he played against them. He was a problem. He was hard to block. They were scouting him. They were keeping an eye on him. You get to free agency, and he still want to play, and he still wanted to play. There were a couple other teams interested in him. I believe Baltimore was one of them, but he wanted to come here, so he signs here. One of the biggest questions we all had is you've got this surplus of defensive linemen now. What are you going to do with these guys? And I even brought up, I wonder if they would actually trade one by the draft to try to get more capital. But my understanding is that's not going to happen. I think I think they'll let it play out. I don't think that there will be a trade of any of these defensive linemen by the time the draft comes. You want to get to camp. You always have injuries in camp, so you don't want to move a good player, and all of a sudden then two guys go down. And you're like, damn, why do we move that guy? So I'm not going to be expecting a trade at any time soon on any of these defensive linemen.
Yeah, they've got 7 now, presuming that they draft one, which I would think they still would. That would give them 8 going into training camp. There's no, they're certainly not going to break camp with 8 defensive linemen. They'll make some decision on the position at some point before that. There's no way they're going to keep 8. But there's a long way between now and the end of training camp, so there's probably not much of a reason to make a decision on that. In the meantime, since we're talking about extensions, we switch gears to the Arizona Diamondbacks. This is Derek Hall, team president and CEO, who was on with Bickley and Murata this morning, talking about the Diamondbacks being the trendsetter for extending core players like Catel Marte early.
Yeah, and I heard you earlier, Bick, say that, we were the trendsetters, and Mike has been, and I agree with that. Our staff definitely believes in this, and other teams are now showing that they're following pursuit as well. But, to do it with Corbin Carroll early on before he even established himself, we really rolled the dice. You take the risk, but you believe in the player, and so far so good. And to do it with Perdomo and Fott, I mean, these are guys that are going to be important members of this team for a long time to come. So I'm glad that our fans are excited to see that. You're really creating some stability, and a lot of it is homegrown talent, which we're very proud of.
Burns, Fott, Martinez, Corbin Carroll, Catel Marte, Perdomo, they have been to the point where we're even trying to figure out, like, is there anybody next who possibly could be next at this point?
Well, let's start with that because that's a good way to go. The answer is no. It's very unlikely that there will be any more extensions. I reported this a little bit earlier today. My understanding is that, these conversations on extensions, they start in spring training. And sometimes they get done in spring training, and sometimes they spill over into the regular season like this one did. I don't believe there are any more ongoing discussions. So a lot of people ask about players. What about Gabby Marino? What about this guy? What about that guy? At this point, I'm going to say no. It usually does not happen where a conversation begins during the season. They always happen. They start in spring training. So there are no other discussions going on right now. So I could say I believe that they are likely done with all of the extensions for this season.
Gabby would really be the only other one that I think you would think about. But if the timing's not right, I mean, like, no one's going to criticize them for not getting Gabriel Moreno done because they've done so many other things. I know there were a couple other things you found out about the Catel Marte extension. What can you share right now about that?
Well, the feeling was they didn't have to do this, right? They did not have to do it. But they believe that if he hit free agency at 33, he could still get $100 to $150 million because he's a switch hitter who could play DH, and second base doesn't take a toll on you. And a lot of people thought this was about taking care of Ketel. No, they really did this for them. They've got $46 million in deferred money now. They get some financial flexibility. They extend him by a couple of years. They were going to pick up his club option anyway, so now this takes care of that. Even the qualifying offer, from my understanding, would have been about $26 million on a qualifying offer for Ketel, when he hit that point. So with the Major League Baseball salary where it is, with guys like Jock Peterson getting $18 million a year as just a left-handed DH, they felt that Marte is going to be one of those guys that can play really well into his mid-30s. So he may not be a second baseman at the end, but one of the things that helped them this year, too, was that the salary went from $19 million to $14 million because they couldn't move Jordan Montgomery, and they got stuck with that. This is money that they could put it back in later in the deal, so they can. So they give Marte's going to get this money, but it gives the Diamondbacks flexibility for this year.
So you're saying they took money out of what he was owed this year and moved it to later. A future year to give them a little more wiggle room in terms of what they've got this year, is what you're saying.
In-season moves, that helps them now. It helps them now because there's more flexibility for this year by saving $5 million. They can make an in-season type of move.
Okay, now honestly, I think that's the key takeaway to this whole thing is because the Jordan Montgomery, the injury really kind of put them in a bind where you just wondered financially, do they even have the ability to go out and get somebody if they wanted to at the deadline and I don't know how much the amount was, but by trimming some of the money that Catel Marte is owed this year off of this year and moving it to a later year, they've regained some of that flexibility, which I think is important because I'm going to just kind of take a stab at it. The Arizona Diamondbacks are going to be looking to add a player at the deadline, and they're going to need the flexibility to do that. I'm glad they've got the flexibility to be able to do that.
Yeah, and they did not before because the Montgomery contract, which they were hoping to move, they spent a lot of money. So they've spent a tremendous amount of money. So this really helps them. So, number one, they get about $5 million now that they can use towards something at the trade deadline or an in-season move at some point. I do not expect any more extensions this year, so I think that's it. I think that's the last one. Unlikely, unless somebody comes to them and wants to start a conversation, I'm going to say it's very unlikely that another extension will happen this season.
Thanks for watching Burns Gambo. Click to see more from the guys and hit the button in the middle to subscribe so you never miss a video from Arizona sports.